What's up guys, Matthew Monas here, and this is the Sony Xperia XZ1. I've been using this as my daily driver for the past 3 weeks, and I want to share with you some of the things that I love about it and some of the things that I don't like. So here's my review. Let's start off with the design. And when I first saw the announcement, I'll be honest with you, I was like, great, Sony's releasing the same design they always release for the past 4 to 5 years. With that being said, a lot of you out there who are Sony fans do like this design. And the good thing is, small improvements have been made. It's a lot more refined, the edges are a lot smoother, which by the way makes the phone very slippery in the hand, so you're definitely going to want to put a case on it. You have a USB Type-C port on the bottom, your volume controls, and the fingerprint scanner on the right side of the phone, which some of you either love or hate. Now, if you're someone who always holds the phone with your right hand, the positioning is the best in the business. But if you use your phone with your left hand, you have to use your other finger to tap it, and it's kind of awkward. Now, that being said, the phone is IP68 certified, so you can drop it in water for 30 minutes up to 1.5 meters. You have dual speakers on the front. They don't get as loud as something like the Pixel, but they get much louder than having a mono speaker on the bottom. So I'd still take those dual speakers any day over one speaker, period. There's a headphone jack on the top so you can hook up headphones, thankfully, and it has a dedicated camera button. I really wish other phone manufacturers put one on their devices as well. It's a nice little touch. The display is 5.2 inches. It's an IPS panel and it's LCD. Sony has not moved to AMOLED, and that's fine. They make really good IPS displays. This has some of the best whites I've seen on a smartphone, and it also gets very bright so you can see it perfectly outdoors. The cool thing with Sony is in their software, you can really tweak the way you want the display to look. So I can adjust the red, the greens, the blues to make it a little bit warmer or to make the display a little bit colder. Next up is performance, and the XZ1 is really fast. In fact, it's probably one of the smoothest Android phones I've used in 2017. I'd place the Pixel 2 as number 1, and then somewhere for second, it'd be between this phone and the OnePlus 5. Also, if you've used a Sony phone at least in the last 3 years, they don't go too heavy on the theming. I mean, you do have like the Xperia Lounge and you have some PlayStation applications, but the theming itself, there's a lot of stock Android shining through. Like you can swipe to the right, you'll get Google Now. The notification menu looks very stock-like. Overall, they keep it very clean. The best thing about this phone has to be the camera. There's a 19 megapixel shooter on the back with an aperture of f2.0. It can't do things like portrait mode where you blur the background, nor can it zoom up to 2 times with a second lens or take a wide shot. But it does have its own unique camera tricks. The first one is 960 frames per second. The ability to shoot video at that high of a frame rate is insane for a phone this size. The results you get are absolutely amazing. Now, of course, the lighting has to be good. You can't do it in the dark, and you have to time it right so you get that great result. The next thing is burst shots. You can take up to 10 shots really fast, so it's great for like live action photography, at least for a smartphone. And the camera quality itself is fantastic. Now, I don't think it's the best camera out there in terms of photo quality, but it's definitely in the top 5. I put it up against the iPhone 8 to see which camera was better. I still personally prefer the iPhone 8, but I know a lot of you out there might prefer the XZ1 instead. The bottom line is that camera quality and flagship smartphones are so close, it really comes down to the way the software processes the images and the way you like the colors in your photos to look. There is no optical image stabilization, so video has to rely on Sony's Steady Shot, which is really great, but only works up to 1080p. As soon as you hit 4K, you have to rely on electronic image stabilization, which is obviously not as good as using Sony's Steady Shot. Battery life is fantastic. I really thought with a 2700 milliamp battery, the battery life wouldn't have been that great, but I'm getting 4 to 4.5 hours of screen on time, so I can basically use this phone the entire day and not have to worry about recharging my phone at any point. Now, unfortunately, there is no wireless charging available, and that's obvious because it is using a metal back, but you do have Quick Charge 3.0, so you can top it up pretty quickly, and of course, you have Sony's Kenovo charging, which retains the lifespan of your battery. Now, before I wrap this up, there's one thing I forgot to mention. You can take 3D scans with the smartphone camera on the back. Super gimmicky, but a lot of fun. The subject has to remain very still. You do a panorama around their head. You bring in that 3D object, and then you can put it in games that Sony has available. You can print it out on a 3D printer or use it in augmented reality. So here's the bottom line. The Sony Xperia XZ1 is a great but boring smartphone. It has the same design for the past 4 to 5 years with big bezels, at least for 2017 standards, and it doesn't have wireless charging. But it manages to nail everything else. The display is solid, It has great battery life, 4 to 4.5 hours with a 2700 milliamp battery. The performance is fantastic and the camera is exceptional. If you don't care about the aesthetics of the phone and you're happy with a 5.2-inch smartphone, the Sony Xperia XZ1 is a great choice. I want to hear what you guys think in the comments below. Are you sick and tired of this design, or do you want to see a redesign with thinner bezels and a smaller form factor? Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. And as always, I will see you in the next video.